What's up, fellas
I've got an ad.
and ladies?
What's going on?
Hope y'all are doing good. We're gonna get our phones going here so we can see what's going on. Let me get mine going. Hope y'all are having a good evening. I never can find it on mine. There it goes. All right, I got it. I got it.
What's going on, Brad?
We got some stuff. We're gonna talk a little bit about crossbows tonight because we really hadn't. We've talked a little bit in the podcast about crossbows, but not that much. So we got a couple of them sitting here. We can kind of talk about them and the maintenance and the safety and all that sort of thing. So it should be pretty neat. Crossbows. I used to hate crossbows. I've tried to come to the
I know I get stuck working on
but I don't know, when crossbows first started getting popular, in my opinion, like in the 2000s,
them. Yep.
they had a lot of trouble. There was a lot of limbs exploding, and people. I know a couple people that lost one guy in particular lost a thumb due to a crossbow. He had his thumb up, and when he shot it, it whacked it off and that sort of thing. So it was just sort of a bad. People thought they were rifles, and it's far from that. And even today, we have people coming in talking about, I shooting my crossbow at 100 yards or 120 yards, and some of them will be like, that's fine to practice at. Hopefully you're not trying to shoot a deer that far. And they'll be like, oh yeah, it walks out, I'm slaying it. But that's really not what they're meant for.
No.
They're fairly loud, and by the time, even though they're sort of speedy, they're still, sound travels at 1,100 and some change feet per second, and the fastest of crossbows are still around 400 feet per second.
Yeah.
So the deer's got plenty of time to move further distances before the bolt gets there. So, it's sort of a Jackie that helps us. He calls them a 50-yard rifle, and that's sort of the truth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You wouldn't want to do much more with a crossbow than you would a compound, but.
And there's the one we got sitting over here. They're 100-yard accurate out of the box.
Yeah, I think they send you. This is the Raven. This one is the R10, but I think they actually send you a bullseye paper out of the box, and they test it from the factory and all that stuff. And these things are super compact. I mean, we're talking just 6, 7, according to which model, inches cocked, limb to limb, axle to axle. They're super powerful. They are neat, you know what I mean? And these Ravens are sort of expensive. You can get into, you can almost get into $3,000 now if you get the highest package they got. But if you were definitely going to be a crossbow guy, the Raven's probably where it's at, or the 10-point. 10-point's got something
similar,
same sort of thinking, and it may even have a little bit more, some neater technology on it from what I've seen. But I know their highest one was like right at $3,000.
Yeah. What's going on with you?
Then we got a basic, just an old Barnett sitting here. Which model is this one? I can't even
remember.
Brotherhood. The Brotherhood. We restrung it. We see the most of a crossbow similar to this come in the shop. We put a lot of strings on, and people will pop their center servings, and we'll reserve them and that sort of thing. But something like this, you're looking at between, just in general, $300 to $500 or $600. So we see a lot of these. I guess we'll start with this one since it's sort of most common, and talk about just maintenance and things you should do and watch out for. If you got one, because there's some stuff we see that people don't realize, and then it can. I have the same one. But anyway, the first thing and most common is probably on this style of crossbow, people don't put the rail lube on the rail here. And the rail lube, it comes in a little tube. It's almost like a Vaseline consistency, and I've even seen people use Vaseline for it.
I have too.
And pretty much it's just a slick, almost like a silicone feeling stuff, and you smear it down this rail, and what it does is gives a cushion or a slickness to this metal rail against this center servant. And usually, I mean, we've seen people come in and say, "I bought this at some box store. I shot it 10 times and my servants broke, or even strings broke." And we'll look at, you can tell, if it's bone dry, we'll be like, "Did you put some of that stuff on there?" And they'll be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And most of them even come with it. They just didn't read the
Yeah.
stuff. So make sure you
What would you say about?
about 5, 6 shots is
Yeah.
what I like to do, because I know if I go out there to like mess with one or sight one in, you hit it, and even 3, 4, 5 shots, you can tell it's starting to get dry.
Yeah.
So, and you don't have to put it on thick. I mean, you don't need to
No.
get crazy with it, but that will prolong your string more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I would say behind that is, when you do see this center serving start to separate, and it will happen, especially on your factory stuff, go ahead and take it to a shop and let them reserve it. You know what I mean? Because if you go a little bit too long, it's going to get into the strands, and then you got to replace the whole string. So instead of a $10 to $15 little fix, then you're looking at 60 or $80 or more. So,
and then plus, if it does start cutting into those strands, it could possibly cut the string right here, and
yeah, you
then
don't want to get hurt, because there's a lot of pressure on these cables and on this string. That pretty much a crossbow is like half the size of a bow, twice or 3 times the poundage. So there's a lot of stuff going on in a little.
William says you can smell it burn if you don't.
Yeah, that's no joke.
Yeah,
that's no joke. That's one of the main things. And then sticking with the string end of it, you still need to wax your strings like you would on a regular bow.
And it's just the unserved portion.
Yeah, don't
serve the.
And if you're new to all this, the serving is the wrap that goes around the string. And for example, it's where it goes over the rail. It's where it's going to wrap around the cam. You really don't want to cake wax on there, because it'll get all gunked in the cam and just make a big mess. So we're just talking about the bare fibers here. Put some wax on it, rub it in real good. Do that every couple times you shoot will be fine. Don't leave them in a hot car. People bring them in. I had one guy in particular, I doubt he's watching tonight, but he brings in one, and he had let it get so hot the first time he brought it in. I don't remember what he brought it in for, but the wax was literally melted off of the string, and the string was real shiny. And I was like, good Lord, when he handed it to me, I was like, this thing's hot. He like, well, I left it in the car at work. And I'm like, that is not good, dude.
No.
So fast forward 6 months maybe, and and it wasn't the bow's fault, it was his fault. It was a Barnett Ghost 410 or 420. He left it cocked in his car, and it exploded. I'm talking, the limbs exploded, and it tore his seat up, it tore the crossbow up. He had to pay to get limbs, and I think all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So don't do that to a bow or crossbow. Don't leave them in a hot car.
Mm-hmm.
Because even uncocked, there's a lot of tension on it.
Yeah.
And limbs are pretty much just fiberglass, so they're gonna,
Yeah.
heat's not good.
Same thing as with a compound. You really don't have to oil. These are sealed.
Yeah.
So you don't have to really put any oil on those, or grease, unless you really get a squeak, just like a compound. Then take it to your shop, break it down, and put some lithium grease on the axles, and then just put them back. But that's on most crossbows. That's kind of rare, though.
It is. We don't hear it. That don't happen much that come in to us. I didn't mention this yet, not crossbow related, but when we get done here in about 15 or 20 minutes, we got another little giveaway plan for next week. We'll tell you all the details on that. I know somebody had already asked me about it, and I told them to tune in. So let's tell them about finger safety.
Let's see. Jeffrey Hammer asked, should I unstring my Excalibur in the off season?
I probably would, especially with it being, like a recurve style. Just take the tension off of those limbs, and, no need to let it stay strung up. If nothing else, your string's going to slowly stretch a little bit with it strung up, and you can preserve the string by unstringing it. So I probably would. And speaking of Excaliburs, that is one of my favorite crossbows. They're simple. They have very little trouble out of them. They're simple. They hit hard. I like them. I don't see as many as we did a few years ago for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, they make some nice stuff. Those little micros and all that.
Yeah,
they are nice.
They were sweet.
And they can get a little pricey, but Yeah, I'd take the string off.
But, you know, overall, after that, you know, always check your foot stirrup screws and make sure that it's not loose. You don't want to sit there and start pulling this thing back and it come back and hit you in where it ain't supposed to hit you.
No joke. Most of the new ones, thank God, have these finger guards.
Yes.
Let me see. Can y'all see this? You should be able to. I'm looking. My feet just a little bit behind. So that when you're holding it, you really can't get those fingers up above the rail. And even on this Raven, it's got it. Every new one has got it.
I think even Excaliburs have it.
It's got this big flap of a thing. But anyway, so the stories behind that was, I even did this one time. I was in a hurry, sighting in a crossbow for a guy. This was the oldest of quad. It might have even been a quad 300. And I had my finger up just barely, thank God not way up. And that string caught the very, 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 very tip of my thumb. And that is the most god-awful pain. I remember one time I pulled a trolling motor over and down on my birdie finger, and that had nothing on the crossbow slapping my thumb. And it was just the very tip of it. And that joker turned black, and it hurt. But anyway, worse story than that, a guy came in with a used crossbow a couple years ago. I don't remember what we did. He might have bought some crossbow bolts or broadheads or something to that effect. Well, he comes back 3 weeks later or so, and he's like, y'all ain't gonna believe this. And I was like, what happened? He said, I got home, we got drinking a few beers, firing off the old crossbow, and he said, I had my thumb up, and he showed me his thumb, and I should have took pictures. He had pictures on his phone of when it happened, but I look at his thumb, and you can tell where it's been sewed back on, you know what I mean? There's still stitches in it. And I was like, oh. And I was like, he showed me pictures on his phone, and literally his thumb was dangling by a piece of skin. And I was like, man, that must have hurt.
I don't even want to think about that.
He said there was an initial sting, but he said then everything just went numb. And he said they kind of put a little tourniquet on it, took his thumb off, and went to the hospital. And a couple hours later, he had it reattached. And I mean, he could move it pretty good, but that's like worst case scenario. And I bet that's happened more times than you would think before they started putting these finger guards on there. So watch your fingers, even when you're cocking it and doing all that. Don't put anything in the way of the string travel. Just bought the Suppressor 400. Oh yeah. We were at Cabela's 6 months ago, maybe. We got a Cabela's up in Greenville, which is about not quite an hour from here, but a lot of their bow work they send down to us because they do just basic stuff up there, and that's great, and for us at least. And anyway, we got a good relationship with them. But anyway, I was just looking at they had a bunch of different models of Excaliburs up there, and I was like, man, that's some nice stuff. And I've shot them when we went to the shows and all, and I'm real impressed with them. And you don't have to worry about all the gadgets.
Richard is from the UK.
Man.
Appreciate you watching.
Thank you for watching. We've got, and I don't know what time it would be there now, but on our podcast videos and stuff, there's a lot of people from Australia that watch, and it may be like middle of the night there now. I can't remember what the time difference. What time is it over there where you're at in the UK, Richard? It's probably it's 6. It's got to be like midnight or something.
Midnight or maybe 1 in the morning.
So be careful with the crossbow. There's a lot of stuff, that can happen. Like I say, there's so much stuff going on. Like with this little Raven here, it's got 4 cables, and they're only like 6 1/4 inches each, and they're literally pulling these limbs together to shoot a 400 feet per second.
1145.
1145. So just so much stuff can go wrong. If you see a nick on the string or anything like that, just go ahead and get it fixed. Don't get hurt.
One of the big things that we see come in the shop, and this happens a bunch, is somebody will come in with their trigger locked or with the safety on. You can't cock the crossbow or anything like that. So the easiest solution is to take an old string. You got that old string over there?
I got it somewhere. Right there.
and just run it back. You can use a piece of, small piece of rope or anything like that, and just kind of, hold it forward, and then, push your safety, and it should be able to fire. That's the easiest and the safest way to really do it, is just to, run it back behind the trigger or behind the lock.
There's some couple-year-old crossbows that are bad about that happening. You know what I mean? And they'll come in, they'll say, I can't. When I pull it back, it won't latch or whatever, and we'll do what he just said. We'll put it behind there and activate the trigger without it being cocked, obviously, and then it'll work. So I don't know what there's.
And some of them actually, some of the newer crossbows actually have. I don't think this one does. Some of them actually on the side up here have a button, I guess you can say, but it's a little slide that you can take, like a small Phillips head screwdriver or small Allen wrench, and actually push it down or up, whichever way the manufacturer has it, and it will release the trigger that way. So that's a good thing. This one doesn't have it.
Another thing I see every now and then is the little, I don't even know what the name for this little gizzy is, but it's the plastic piece, or it can be metal, that holds the bolt down on the rail. Sometimes, I don't know if people bend them or what happens, but it'll be up and not really holding the bolt. But if you take all this off the scope and the rail and all that, there is a screw that you can adjust the height of that thing on most crossbows. So that's something to kind of remember. What else? Trying to think.
And if something does malfunction on this trigger or this safety mechanism, normally the crossbow company is going to warranty that part. So
we've had, even like Barnett, they're obviously probably the biggest crossbow manufacturer. We've had good luck with people bringing in stuff that's broke, and we don't know if they broke it or if it was a legitimate, warranty issue or whatever, but we've had pretty good luck with them fixing stuff. Even as a consumer, we have a lot of people, they'll just call Barnett themselves, and Barnett will send them the part, they'll bring it here, we'll fix it. So I got to give them props for that. And I know they're a huge company and probably have a lot of stuff go on, but
shoot, I can't remember the last time we had to take a whole trigger mechanism, the safety mechanism out.
Yeah,
it's been a while. Probably when I guess in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, that was a big issue on crossbows, was that safety mechanism hanging up. I couldn't tell you how many we had to take apart. And
another thing is, I guess I can whoop out. I got a bolt sitting over here. Make sure your bolt is seated all the way back against the whatever you'd call it, the fire mechanism before you shoot it. This is not as common anymore because most of them now have a little thing that raises up that you can't shoot it unless it is seated.
Yeah.
But some of the older ones,
the anti-dry fire,
you won't get it quite seated. And I seen this in person one time. A guy scared me to death when we used to have the indoor range. He didn't have it seated, and I was standing right beside him, and when he pulled the trigger, the string traveled a little bit, and then it jumped over the top of the arrow, and that thing blew up, and I dove in the floor, and I mean, that thing exploded. Strings and limbs and stuff, shrapnel was everywhere. But speaking of that, you probably about to say what I was going to say.
The knock.
Yep.
Make sure.
Like, for example, the Raven has its own knock system.
Yeah.
You can only use a Raven knock on the Raven crossbow. Most Barnetts use what they call a half moon knock. That's all you can use.
Yep.
Some of the older Barnetts had a different knock system. Some crossbows have used a flat knock.
Yep.
The half moon is probably most common, but the bear crossbows we carry in here, they got their own knock. So make sure you use the right knock because it can cause a
barter spot.
Yeah,
and
go
plus,
ahead.
if you get, like we carry Black Eagle. We're not sponsored or anything by them. We like them.
This is cool on their part though.
But they actually have. There's the flat knock. Nope, that's the half moon knock.
It comes with I don't even know what style knock that is, but it's almost like it would click on a string. Then it comes with a half moon and a flat. Yeah, does it say what this is called?
I'm looking. It comes with the half moon knocks installed but removable. That's not the half moon that's on there. It also comes with the flat knocks. It's a different knock. The 18 and 20s.
We'll see if I can get one out and show y'all in case you hadn't seen them, what these knocks look like.
It doesn't say, but it's a different knock.
These, I don't know how great this will focus. So here's what comes on them. I'm waiting on the feed to. That ain't too bad. And then here's your half moon. And then here's your flat. And I know I had a few people a long time ago, they would go to like Walmart, and Walmart would have these with a flat knock on them, and they'd shoot them out of a bow that required a half moon, and it would do what I was saying earlier, because you can still seat the arrow, but the dang string would jump the arrow and it would blow it up. So these Black Eagle Executioners are like 40 couple bucks for 6 of them, and it comes with all these knocks. So far, we've carried them for about 3 years now, maybe 4. I've been impressed with them. It's a good solid arrow. They're also, Black Eagle's the people that make the Raven bolts for Ravens. So they're based out of Georgia. They're some good folks. So if I can figure out how to do it, I'll put if you need any, I'll put a link in the description. But anyway, it's a good, solid crossbow arrow.
Yep. And there's a bunch of other ones out there. I mean, they even make full metal jackets now for them. That
I remember when it was all aluminum.
Yep, I do too.
But crossbows are something else.
Yes, they are.
Crossbows are something else. What hadn't we talked about?
Well, we talked a little bit. A lot of people, it's a two-edged sword. You got people that love crossbows, or you got people that hate crossbows.
Yeah.
I think that crossbows are good because it allows kids to get out and enjoy the outdoors. And really that's what it's about, is getting the kids involved. So, like my little boy will be 5 in October. So hopefully I can get him in the woods this year again. And so if I had a crossbow, he could actually shoot a deer this year with a crossbow. Whereas when I was growing up, I had to wait till I was old enough to shoot a 410 shotgun or a 20 gauge or, a 223 or a 243.
Yeah.
So actually, so I think it's a good thing, especially on the kids aspect.
I've changed. I hated them at first because there was so much trouble with them. We're backing up 20 years. And, now I'm more, there's a lot of people that just hunt with a crossbow. There's a lot of people that are like, I'm a rifle guy, so I just want a crossbow to get me through the first couple of weeks of hunting season until we can use our rifle here. And I'm fine with that. Initially, I was always like, man, I feel like it's for older people with shoulder trouble and all that, and I still agree to that, but I think it's kind of, we see so many of them come in now. It's changed my mind a little bit. It's just the people that think they can kill a deer at 150 yards with them that I don't like. But
yeah. Old Jeffrey says, yeah, I had bought a Wicked Ridge Invader 400, shot it about 35 times. Did some research online, find out they will break. It's just a matter of time, so we sold it.
I don't know anything about that model, but
Wicked Ridge is kind of like like Matthews and Mission, Bowtech. They're made by 10 Point.
Yeah.
They just call it Wicked Ridge. Their little sub branch.
But yeah, definitely. And then this Raven, it's a whole nother beast. I mean, it's got a built-in cocking device, and the trigger mechanism is way different than this. It don't have the rail. It has its own little arrow rest, and this is a whole different shebang. But
yeah,
crossbows have come a long way.
Yep,
they have come a long way. Let's talk about our giveaway, I reckon.
How do you find the durability of Black Eagle arrows? I tried Victory VAP TKOs and they weren't as tough as my Gold Tip Ultralights. I've gone back to Gold Tips, but I'm thinking about giving.
It's according to which model?
Recurve the way to go. Raven is overpriced.
Yeah, it is. They're high.
They are.
Like the Black Eagle Carnivore is a brittle arrow, but it's a super lightweight arrow. You get into something heavier like a Spartan or whatever. I hadn't had any trouble out of them. Gold Tip is a stout arrow. I can't deny that. I would say, and I like the Carnivore for a lightweight arrow, but as far as durability or as far as it being brittle, maybe stay away from it, but like a Spartan or a Rampage or anything along those lines, I don't think you'll have any trouble with.
That's what Richard said. He said Black Eagle Rampages a go.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Rampages. I mean, you can even get into your Zombie Slayers, even your Outlaw Air, which is what we sell a ton of in here.
We have people all the time take those Outlaws, and that's by far our number one seller, just because they're good but cheap, and we got targets out to 100 yards outside, big bag targets with a wooden and metal frame, and they'll put them in that wood almost on a weekly basis. And rarely do we break one. They'll put it in the metal roof, or we got one. There's like an overshed in the front of our shop here outside that we shoot from under sometimes.
There's one still stuck up there because we can't get it out.
It's stout, but
it's stuck. So
I've been. I don't remember what turned me on to Black Eagle. It's been about 5 or 6 years maybe now, but I've been happy. I've stuck with them, And I mean, I don't have anything against any of the other companies, but I'm just kind of stuck with. He said, he's shooting Jeffrey's shooting a Black Eagle Executioner. And as far as Executioners goes, I hadn't heard of any trouble with crossbows, having any trouble with them. So
I hadn't either. So, like I said, all around Black Eagle, they've got a good product.
Oh, yeah.
So
Brandel, he came in and had mounted one of those night vision scopes on his crossbow and showed me a video or two of him shooting some hogs and stuff, and it was pretty slick. Gotcha. 420 grain.
What what air length or what draw length?
I'm trying to think of what I'm shooting the Renegades. I got some set up right now, and I'm right at 420, I think. And that's a 350 spine, and I shoot a 28-inch draw length, and that's with about 120 grains in the front. But there's several options you could go with. Even the X Impact,
or maybe the
Rampage.
Or if you wanted to, you could go with their new, the Revelation Air.
They high.
They high now, but it's a skinny air too. Shooting 16.5-inch shafts at 454 grains.
Let me get this brought back up. Somebody's asking me about a longbow.
We never stop working.
Okay. For our giveaway next week, it's nothing extremely extravagant, but we are going to give away a Outer Limit stabilizer. I'm going to see if I can get it open. It's stapled. It, honestly, I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's a rubber stabilizer with a hollow core, but we sell a good many of them, especially the prime bows, people that just want a bare bones hunting bow with no long stabilizer. It's all rubber. It's the little knobby things on the end flex around, and it's only about a 4-incher. So it's a good little stabilizer, but we're going to give one of these away on our next week live show here. We'll do the same thing we did last week. Pick a number. At the end of the show, we'll random draw a number, and then we will ship this to whoever wins.
Richard said 29-inch draw, 70 pounds, arrow cut to 27, carbon.
That's similar, 27. That's similar to what my Renegades are cut lengthwise. So but there's a bunch of them you can shoot.
Yeah.
What's going on, Muddy Ducks? Southeast North Carolina. How are y'all doing in the middle of all this
mess?
We heard today our governor said he had closed down some boat ramps and all this. He's opening some back up. I guess people got mad enough. And I think from what I've seen lately, everybody's about had enough of everything being closed down, and they're ready to open back up and let's get back to business. Luckily, it really hadn't affected us very much, other than a lot of our suppliers and bow companies and all that stuff are closed down, that are in states that had to shut down. What broadheads do you guys like for crossbows? Trying to turkey hunt in 14-degree weather. Yeah, we just got in
the sick 2-blade.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember because I couldn't remember. Um, from Rocket, they're cool.
I don't think they're made by Rocket. They're their own brand.
That's right. That's right.
Sick
That's right.
is.
It's all the same company, but they're
Yeah.
calling them Sick, SIK. Look those up. I hadn't shot them myself out of a crossbow, but when the rep brought them in and all these fancy videos he showed us and statistics and all that, we were like, we need some of those, and I was pretty sold on them. But
And what's good about them is they're good to up to I think it's a 410 feet per second crossbow, but you could also put them in your compound. So you got a dual purpose broadhead.
UK has extended the lockdown for another 3 weeks.
Oh
I
man.
really well in our state here in the U.S. They pretty much extended it until the end of April.
Yeah.
But then today he was like, hopefully businesses can get kind of going again by the end of June, and everybody got their panties in a wad, and they're like, whoa.
yeah.
So I don't know. Who knows? Like I say, other than some things we're not able to get, like one guy, for example, this sucks. He ordered a prime in left-handed because we don't have a lot of left-handed stuff. A week or two before this hit, and then Prime had to shut down because Michigan has got all their mess going on and shut down.
Yeah.
So, and luckily, thank God he understands. But I feel so bad because he's
Here-
waiting on his bow, and we can't do anything, and Prime, nobody's at Prime, and that sort of thing. So, oh, it sucks.
Have you guys shot Annihilator broadheads? Love them and shoot like darts out of a crossbow.
I'll have to check them out. I have
Yeah.
not. I mean, I've heard of them and I've
I
seen
have
them, but
too.
I hadn't shot them. There's so many broadheads out now
Man.
compared to what there used to be.
Yeah.
I remember when everybody's like, I shoot a Muzzy or I shoot a Thunderhead, and that was it.
yeah.
Now it's like there's 200 different models, and they change them every year, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep up. But
I mean, shoot, there's so. I mean, Schwacker makes them. Dead Ringer.
I wouldn't even be able to name. There's so many companies now.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in with us.
Richard said he's only allowed out to shop for medical appointments or to work if you're in essential business or for 1 hour exercise per day.
There's some states like that here.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're not quite that locked down. They gave out like a list of businesses that had to close, and it was like hair salons and barber shops and all kind of stuff. And it's funny because it said sporting goods stores on it, so we thought we were going to have to close. Well, then on 2 days later, a little bit further investigation, they said if you pretty much sell anything to do with hunting and fishing, that's essential.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we wasn't going. We were still going to be here working on bows and stuff, but we didn't know about like the public walking in. So once we found out we didn't have to close, we were just like, all right, y'all, let's don't get a bunch of people in here at once, and we'll just carry on as usual and clean some. So it hadn't been that bad.
I know everybody probably feels the same way I do. I'm tired of it, and it's getting to a point to where, you know, how much more is somebody going? I mean, telling you where you can and can't do, what you can and can't do, where you can and can't go.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't gonna be too much more than that, and a lot of people gonna be getting ill.
My wife ran to the Walmart yesterday to get, I don't remember, we needed something grocery wise. I can't remember what it was, and she said people had got that stimulus check, and she said there was people in there buying TVs and Nintendos and anything you can imagine. She said it looked like it was the 4th of July in there, and I was like, whew.
My wife went today,
Oh,
and she sent me a message and said I survived, and she said I think I survived.
there's just so many crazy people out there. I've been kind of making about every week and a half, 2 week grocery run, which is pretty much normal. But I know I went this past Sunday, and our Walmart started opening at, what is it, 7 or 8?
Yeah, something like that.
7. Anyway, so I got there at 7 just so I wouldn't have all them crazy people there. And it worked out good because there was nobody there. They had plenty of stuff. Other than where we're at, the toilet paper is still
It's still
scarce,
out.
but they had plenty on Sunday morning. And I don't know why everybody went and bought up all the toilet paper, but
I have no idea.
anyway,
Jeffrey said he ain't got a check yet,
no check.
and he says he's a chef. So
Let's see. I thought I seen another one come in that we missed. But yeah, I was surprised. I woke up yesterday morning and seen it in my account, the little stimulus thing they're doing, and then I seen where a bunch of other people. You got yours.
Yeah.
I seen where a bunch of other people posted they got theirs, but then I got an aunt in Tennessee, and I seen her post on Facebook today that she's worried because she hadn't got hers, and she's about to freak and all this stuff. But I bet being a chef does suck because all the restaurants are.
William said, "I got mine. I work at a town public works, so."
That's probably the restaurant people are. I mean, I've seen restaurants in town doing a lot of takeout. But at the same time, it would suck to go from full-blown wide open to you can only pull up and get an order, you know.
Richard said we had supermarkets stripped here for a couple of weeks with idiots panicking buying.
Yeah.
But it's calmed down now. And
it was like that here.
And it kind of still is, because if somebody finds toilet paper, you get online, you get on social
Facebook,
media. They got toilet paper. Next thing you know, everybody done run out and bought all the toilet paper. So I'm like,
on my Walmart trip Sunday, we had got low on toilet paper, you know, and I hadn't bought any since before all this stuff even happened, but we got down to a couple rolls, and I told Dawn, I said, I might as well go ahead and get us a pack. And it worked. They had 2 huge pallets Sunday morning, so I got a big pack of it. We should be good for another month or 2. But
did Jeffrey say where he was at? He said they're shut down altogether.
Where are you at, Jeffrey? I feel like you told us.
I do too. Let's run back.
Maybe not. I know every state's different, because I know like New York, for example, not the state as a whole, but the city, that'd be a nightmare.
Minnesota.
Okay. New York City would be a nightmare in the middle of all this, and I would be worried, but like most people are.
Oh man. It's funny. I actually stopped at the little convenience store I get gas and everything at, and I had to go get my medicine for the other week at the local CVS, and they've got tables and they've got displays where it's measured off 6 feet. And so I went in there and I told the girl, I said, y'all ain't got nothing out here to keep us 6 feet. She said, hell, I ain't worried about it. If you get it, you get it. I'm like, okie dokie.
Yeah,
I kind of feel the same way. I mean, don't want nothing bad to happen to nobody, but.
Well, I would probably take some precaution if, you know, I worked at the grocery store or wherever and had to check people out, you know, a lot of people a day, because.
Ooh, that sucks.
What is it?
All the McDonald's in the UK are closed, not even drive-thrus or delivery.
Honestly, that's what I was waiting. I seen there was a case in town the other day. They closed down, I think it was a Bojangles, because one of the workers had got it. But that's what I've been waiting on. What happens when the people at the fast food places catch it and then spread it like wildfire?
They're selling TP out of the customer service counters here. Man.
That's crazy.
It's bad when you got to put the limit on toilet paper.
When this first started, I mean, very, very, very first like day or 2 that this started, and everybody was hollering they were out of toilet paper, we ended up at a store and there was a line of about 25 people at the back of the store. And I was like, what is everybody waiting on? And they were like, this is the toilet paper line. They said they had a few in the back or something. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I mean, I'm glad I had plenty of toilet paper when all this started, because I'd have been looking for it too. But
oh man,
mine hadn't updated yet.
It says shit's on lockdown. Well, you know, you could do like we had joked about before, but you know, everybody got a hose pipe, you know, so everybody's got a shower, you got a hose pipe. I mean, so
that'd be a last resort there.
Well,
TJ, come out back, TJ, and spray me off. All right. That'd be something.
Crack the door with a hose pipe.
Maybe that's what we should have gave away for our next week. We're going to send you a case of toilet paper. We'd have had more viewers than we ever had before.
Probably so.
Anyway, we'll get off here in a minute. Thank y'all for hanging out with us, though.
Yeah.
Like I say, we're going to give this little stabilizer away next Thursday. We'll have all our normal stuff. I'll tell you what, I about messed up. In our area here, tornadoes came through Sunday night.
Sunday night, early Monday morning.
And tore up some stuff. And so the power went out, the internet went out, the whole 9 yards went out. And I had our podcast, we already had recorded it, and I had it putting together and on Adobe Premiere and all that stuff, and the power went out, so it killed it. So we went and got a generator and did all this crap, and I got the podcast put together. I guess it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday, but I didn't have no internet, so I had it uploading through just mobile signal. I transferred it to cell phone, had it uploading through the mobile signal, slow as Christmas, but it still luckily uploaded by Tuesday morning, but the audio version didn't. It didn't show up till Wednesday morning, so that was sort of a mess. But we got this Sunday, we got a Hoyt Carbon Defiant video coming out, and it was the one that gave us some weird paper tears. And then Tuesday will be another podcast, and next Thursday will be our giveaway.
Brad says Kentucky is only allowing one adult per family in the stores at a time. No one under 18 unless accompanied by adult. And I'm right there with you, Jeffrey. Mine's right there by the shower too.
Yep. Might as well have them both. But we'll get off here.
Yep.
TJ's going to get him a lawnmower.
Yeah, finally.
And
get a new one.
We will see y'all Sunday for our Hoyt video come out, and then we'll podcast Tuesday morning, and we'll be back Thursday live. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Yep.
I think we've had about a dozen or 15 people the whole time, so that's good. We threw this out a little bit last week, and I'll throw it out again. We if you know any companies or you're affiliated with any companies of any hunting stuff or anything bow related that would be cool we could give away, feel free to give them a shout and say, hey, these boys will give away your product, and do a big promotion. You know, we can do like a review of it and give it away, or we can do whatever they want us to do. But if you know anybody, that would be cool. We got a few emails, and we got a few people in the works of getting some stuff to give away. Nothing major, you know what I mean? Just some $20, $30 items, but I think it would be neat. But if you know anybody, tell them to give us a holler, archeryshack@gmail.com.
Yep. Any questions for a podcast or something you want us to talk about on the podcast or our live videos, you know, you can email us at archeryshack@gmail.com, or you can send it to me at tj@archeryshack.com.
Yeah, or Crossbow stuff. What kind of lawnmower are you buying?
A Bad Boy 60 inch.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
The Bad Boy.
Yeah.
I might have just found a new grass cutter.
Before we get off, I got a funny. I got to tell him my story this morning.
Let me load it up before you tell it.
All right.
I get here and TJ's wound up. I mean, that joker is going 90 miles an hour. He's red in the face. He's mad, and I'm like, good Lord. I was like, what has happened here, TJ? Here we go.
Well, we're not going to name no names of companies, but called a local company because the trailer I have, the lawnmower won't fit on. So
it ain't wide enough.
It ain't wide enough. So I called up local place that rents stuff. And so I talked to the boy this morning, and I told him what I needed. He's like, oh yeah, we got you covered and everything. And he asked me, he said, well, how much does the lawnmower weigh? I ain't sure. I mean, it's well under 1,000 pounds, I'm pretty sure. Okay, well, it's still working and everything. And then he blindsided me. What kind of vehicle do you got, or are you going to pull it with?
You can't go get a trailer in a 1997 Camry, TJ.
I know. So I told him, I said, well, you know, and we're not going to debate, but because it'll take all day, but I got a little Ford Ranger I drive. It's 4-wheel drive. And the guy told me, he said, well, he said, I can't rent it to you. I said, do what? And he said, it's a little bit of a safety issue. I said, safety issue? I said, what kind of safety issue? I said, all I'm doing is hauling a lawnmower from the store to the house and bringing y'all the trailer back. He said, well, he said, your truck don't have enough stopping power. And so I said, stopping power? I was like, truck got plenty of power to pull the trailer and, you know, stop it. You know, ain't like I'm running 100 miles an hour trying to stop it at a dead standstill. And he's like, well, we can't do it and everything. So I exchanged a word or two with him, and then I just hung up the phone. So I was wound up from that this morning, and it was...
Poor old T-Bob couldn't get his trailer.
So
well, we worked it out.
Yep, we got a good buddy of ours. I'm fixing to go pick it up and drop a generator off too.
Yeah, I had to borrow his generator. It's John Partain that helps us. You've seen him in a couple of our videos. He let me borrow a generator when the power was out, and now he's letting TJ borrow a trailer. So he's a pretty good old fella.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So that was the interesting story of the day. Was
TJ's wound up. Like, well, TJ, we need a case of beer out here, son.
Well, oh, in the right mind, I have never in my life heard
they was concerned for your safety
of stopping power. Okay, I could, guys, look, I understand if this was a 20-foot tandem axle trailer with a daggum John Deere tractor sitting on it. Yeah, I wouldn't want to attempt to pull it with my Ford Ranger, but it probably would, but I wouldn't attempt it. I'd be going to get a F-150 or a 1500, something like that, just to go get it. But a 6x10 utility trailer, I just couldn't believe it. William says, never heard that either, and I drive trucks. So that's my rant for today, I guess you can say. So needless to say, we'll not be supporting that company unless I
don't know. I just popped up and said that I want to send us a super sticker. What does that mean? I don't even know how I did it. Oh, a super sticker.
I have no idea what you...
Look at this. I don't know what I clicked. It's got a chicken.
Lord, a chicken.
It's got a chicken on here. Oh, I guess you donate, it'll send us money, like the channel money or okay. Never mind. I hit this button right here. It just popped up.
Well, it must just be on yours because it ain't on mine. So
that's weird. Anyway, I don't know. I just hit something that we'll get off here.
Yeah. I bet you people are laughing at me and my experience this morning. So
we might have a better story when you crash going to get your bad boy because you ain't got no brakes.
Well, I told my wife, I said, we're going to make a trip through the parking lot in the morning. And I said, I'm going to call him out there and say, look at here.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, let me go stop this thing.
All right,
Thank y'all for tuning in.
Yep, y'all have a good one.